If you're a Tesla investor, the future just got even brighter. Elon Musk just unveiled his boldest vision yet, space AI. And if he pulls this off, Tesla and SpaceX become the foundation of an entirely new civilization and the ultimate buy, hold, and never sell story. Space AI is an idea so big it could make robotaxi and robotrucking look small by comparison. He's envisioning 2 to 10 terawatts per year of clean energy powering AI-driven industrialization in space, a self-sustaining off-world economy. This isn't just the future of AI, it's the future of everything. Brian Wang is a future thought leader and popular science blogger with 1 million readers per month. Check out his YouTube channel at Next Big Future and his blog, nextbigfuture.com. It's ranked #1 science news blog. Welcome, Brian. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Great to be here. A lot of exciting stuff. Elon's been going crazy.
Crazy in a good way. Yeah, over the weekend, over the last week, he started to share a lot of information, announcing everything that is right up your alley. I knew that you must be jumping up, getting so excited. You have been researching space AI, data centers, AI compute. We've been going to you to give us an update of NVIDIA's compute, Tesla's and XAI's data centers. And you kind of like, you create these spreadsheets and you kind of mapped out and you realize by this date, this is what's going to happen next. And so far, you've been hitting that correctly. So today, you're going to share with us on Tesla's perspective, as well as SpaceX, what does this mean when he talks about space AI? What does it mean for AI 5, AI 6? What does it mean for the bot? And what does it mean for CyberCab? So This is great. And then, of course, what does it mean for Tesla investors? And basically, you're here saying that, you know, we're all excited about Robotaxi and the bot, but boy, you haven't seen anything yet when we start talking about these numbers, right?
Yeah. That's right. So yeah, if he put out a tweet talking about 100 gigawatts of space AI by 2030. And so if we involve Tesla AI 5 to AI 8 chips, he put a tweet out about finishing the design route for AI 5. And he says it can follow quickly with AI 6 and AI 7. So AI 5 will get to volume production in 2027. And then AI 6 in 2028, 2029, 2030. So we have a steady cadence of one per year pretty much after AI 5 gets rolling. I think the next slide discusses the fact that he's saying.
But before we do that, when you saw this, Brian, AI 8 will be out of this world, you knew what that meant, right? It was a hint. People are like going, why is he talking about AI 6 and 7 and 8? Just stick with AI 5. No. He's giving you a hint of why he's talking about AI 8 now, because that will be important for
space, airspace,
something, space.
So he had said, so here's talking about the volume production in 2027 for AI 5. So this is a bit delayed because we were hoping for volume production in 2026, and now that's been pushed back. But I think AI 6 becoming incremental. He's saying it's a 2x improvement, so not a huge leap from AI 5. That means what was going to be in AI 6 is going to be loaded into AI 5. So then we'll have an even more amazing AI 5 chip because we're going to take more time to get it right. So, and then AI 7 needs new fabs, and then AI 8 after that. So he's been talking about, before he talked about AI 8, he was talking about space-based AI because a company called StarCloud put up an NVIDIA H100 into space 4 days ago. So that's just an H100 chip, put into space, 60 kilograms. It's a proof of concept. But if it works, and then the projections are that space-based power will be cheaper than Earth-based power. So once you cross over and can get good chips up there at scale, and then get the cost to move them and power them lower than a particular number, then all AI data centers go to space. And Jeff Bezos, as well as Elon, are saying, yes, that will happen. So Jeff Bezos, who's head of Amazon, another super billionaire, and Elon, both, and he runs Blue Origin, so another space company, are saying that they've clearly looked at the numbers and see that crossover point will happen. Although Bezos was talking about 10 to 20 years. So I think 10 years is probably correct. I think Elon was being more off the cuff, saying 5 years, to 100 gigawatts because you have to scale, just like we have to scale Tesla bot of like 100,000, get everything working right, and then scale to 1 million, scale to 10 million to 100 million. Same thing for the data center. You don't leap to 50 million chips right away. You have to do a bunch of other work to scale up. So there'll be a scale up period for it. And also, you're not going to rush and do it with NVIDIA chips and pay 4 times more for them. You're going to wait to get your own chips. So you can get your AI 8 chips at volume, and then you put it up there. So there's some things around that. And also the critical number is for each Starship load, $80 million, right? So that's to launch and to power whatever you're going to put up there, right? Separate the chips, because chips, if I put them on the ground or put them in space, that'll end up being a wash. So it's $80 million on the moving and powering part. So then if they never sell or don't sell for 10 years or 20 years, a Starship launch for under $80 million to other people, no one else will compete in AI space, right? Because you have to get under that number. So if I have other costs and then $80 million, I'm over the number. They can bring their cost down to 5 to 10 million. And so they have room to work and make it happen. Other people do not until, say, 2035, when you're getting thousands of Blue Origin launches or something, right? Until you have a fully reusable competitor, they have no reasons to bring the cost down to a lower number. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want you to spend more time on how big of a deal space AI is to Tesla investors, to SpaceX investors, and to the future. But before we do that, let's stick with the AI 5 to AI 8 story. And so I think Tesla investors, when they heard about this, they go, okay, does that mean people assume that AI 5 is required for Cybercab? If AI 5 has been postponed to 2027, does that mean that Cybercab will launch with the AI 4 and then you'll get AI 5? And then also what happens to bots? What will they launch with?
Yeah, so that means the first 1,000 of bots and all the Cybercabs in 2026 will be AI 4 chips. There will be no AI 5 until later, and so nothing's holding up for AI 5. But then the reason for AI 5 is for distributed AI, that they want to put an overpowered chip that will do inference in bots and cars that they can send out the compute instructions to, because every gigawatt of AI data center currently and out until about 2030 is priced at about $50 billion per AI data center, right? So them doing 10 million AI 5 chips is worth $200 billion with the data center that they do not have to build the power systems for, that they would sell the chips to
cars and
in
bots
and cars and bots. And then so they can use it for free for us as customers and them as the company use them for free for distributed AI. So we're both making extra money on top of whatever we were.
So you're saying that will be AI 5, which won't come till 2027. But you did say that AI 4 will power the bots and cybercabs. Do you think that AI 4 is good enough? That does not in any way slow down Robotaxi plans to launch in 50, many cities? No. That it will have the safety comparison against humans. That bots will be able to do useful work.
Yes. Yeah, all of that is true. We're seeing that already because they're saying, Elon said on the All In podcast that they will scale to over 1,000 Robotaxi in the San Francisco Bay Area. They'll scale to over 500 Robotaxi in Austin, greater Austin area. And also in Q3, they said they would have 6 or 8 other cities with 10 or 20 vehicles. So we're looking at 1,600 to 1,700 vehicles in less than 60 days. Right, sometime in December that happens, and they pull the monitor. So pulling the safety monitor and safety driver means that you have solved unsupervised. Yeah. So then it's how fast do you feel comfortable scaling? at that
Okay,
point.
thank you. I feel more comfortable you explaining that. So let's just quickly go through this AI5, AI6, AI7. First of all, fantastic table, Brian. Thank you for doing all this work.
Yeah,
I
thank
don't know
you.
where, I guess you kind of like grab all this information you can get from everywhere, you put it together. That tells you the production
Yeah,
timeline, that tells you manufacturing notes and the primary use cases. I guess
yeah,
you because of your knowledge of what this means. So it says here
yeah,
AI6 can be for scaled FSD and Optimus deployments, larger Jojo clusters, focus on power efficiency for mobile
yeah,
and edge. AI7, high-end
yeah,
training for multimodal AI, robotaxi fleets,
yeah,
potential XAI crossover for
yeah,
ROC models, and then AI8 is frontier AI
yeah,
training, massive scale inference. Okay, yeah.
yeah. And all the other space applications. So the way I'm talking about Dojo again, even though Dojo was canceled, is that it will be, they will make the chips the crossover of
Both
doing
training and
training and
inference at the
inference
same
together.
time. That's when they'll
Both.
do it. AI6. Okay,
Right. Right.
makes sense.
Right. Well, it may also be an AI5 as well. It depends on how optimized
Mm.
they are for everything. And then now that they're saying they want to do space
Mhm.
AI training and inference, then 8 will do that, but also be customized to be built in space because there's temperature,
Yeah.
error correction things that have to
Out
happen
of this world.
for
People did
that.
not, some people did not get
Yeah.
that. And they're like, dude, it was a major
Yeah.
hit. That's why he had to say
Yeah.
this to you.
Right. Right.
Okay. Let's go through your deck here. So, yeah, AI, let's go with this one here. Okay.
Yeah. So various companies have estimated how many trillions will be spent on AI data centers. So we're already at, $300 billion, $400 billion per year spent on AI just from the big companies. On the chip side, for 2025 and 2026, NVIDIA already has $500 billion of orders in the bag, right? So that they announced that at the GTC day a few weeks ago, and so if the chips are 2/3 of a data center, then that means over the next 2 years you're going to spend an extra $750 billion on AI data centers, right? That's just from NVIDIA chips. There's still another 10% from AMD and TPUs, Google TPUs. There's other chips there. So that's like you add on to that. So you're getting close to $1 trillion over the next 2 years. And then it'll rapidly increase to trillions per year and then multiple trillions per year. So McKinsey talked about $5 trillion from 2025 to 2030. Brookfield talks about 7 trillion over the 10 years. So basically, it is trillions that we're talking about. And if space data centers become the winner, then the Tesla chips become the winner, right? Because you're going to use Tesla chips. I'm not going to pay the premium for the other stuff, right? And then those trillions flow to Tesla and to SpaceX. What will happen is that as we go over $10 trillion, which would happen in the 2030s at some point, right? Then the amount of money from AI data centers, from space AI data centers, once it's all achievable, becomes greater than robotaxi and robotrucking. So robotaxi and robotrucking is like 2 trillion, 3 trillion, or something like that per year. And then once you get to like something like $10 trillion for this stuff, late 2030s, then you've surpassed the entire industry of robotaxi and robotrucking. And this is another space Tesla industry for that.
Is it Tesla? I know it's SpaceX for sure. I know that could it be XAI that builds the data centers, but you're saying it's Tesla that's building the chips, the AI chips. And so that is the amount that you're using?
That's right. That's the amount I'm using. That they would be the main focus of the chips. There's a breakdown on another slide about the $50 billion and how it's 65 to 70% for chips.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then the energy part, and then there would be energy and transportation that would be SpaceX's portion, a nice healthy 20%. It would also include cooling, 15%.
This is all Tesla. Right. Yeah.
Well, the energy cooling and physical infrastructure in the space AI case would be mostly SpaceX.
Okay,
right.
Gotcha.
And then how XAI gets worked in there in terms of like the software portion is on top of the hardware portion.
Gotcha. And then we did hear Elon did say recently, he said, we we partnered with both Samsung and TSMC. We added TSMC because we told them that we want you to make as many chips as you can. And whatever you can't make, whatever we don't use for the cars, for Robotaxi, or for the bots, we will use for AI data centers. So he goes, just crank them out. So he's already said using chips for data center. That's one of his goals for these AI series.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So this is a huge dollars and stuff. So it's the space AI data centers have to get cheaper than the alternative, which is Earth-based. Once that crossover happens, then it's permanent and things are always cheaper in space. And then all the money flows that way. And all the advantages that SpaceX has will then flow to Tesla because they'll be the ones winning on it. They'll win together.
So when do you think that they can convince people that space-based AI data is a real thing? Do you have to wait till AI 8, which means 2028?
The waiting to AI 8 is mainly for the 100 gigawatt data center that he's talking about. That's when you want to wait for that, because if I'm going to spend at least $200 billion, maybe $1 trillion on that, I want to spend 25% of that money instead of all of it and give 3/4 to NVIDIA, right? So when I go to the really big numbers, it's going to be there. But in this game, a few hundred megawatts, something of the size of the current Memphis 1 or something like that, might be a test system.
Just a test system to prove it.
To prove it, yeah. But then there'll be a bunch of ones leading up to that, yeah.
Yeah, and then, boy, the contracts would just flow, right? Everybody would just say, hey, SpaceX and Tesla, please build us a data center in space because it's so much cheaper than doing one at home in Earth.
Right. But there's
trillions for Tesla.
Right. But there's loads of scaling up that has to happen to get to this point. Not just the chips, there's also solar. We've only put up like 200 megawatts of solar into space ever. Right. So and like 90% of that is Starlink. Right.
Yeah.
So
satellites.
So then you have to go up to 1,000x in power to solar. We have solar on the ground to do it, but those have not been adapted to space, right? So there's that scaling. There's any number of things that have to scale to do this. The space radiators, to radiate the heat out. They work. We built them, but we have to make them better. And then making things lighter and cheaper is you want to do the work, because again, I don't want things to cost 4 times more when I go to scale, right? When I'm doing small stuff, it doesn't really matter. But on this kind of scale, it's just like the perfecting FSD before you ramp it, or perfecting Cybercab. You have to get things right, and then you can ramp. So that phase is non-trivial. And if people are saying, hey, it's 2030, Elon didn't hit 100 gig, he was just talking off the cuff. Okay, we have to do some stuff. I'm thinking 2035 would be a good date for it, right? But there's a lot of work that has to happen. But the guarantee of, and then SpaceX and Tesla will win, is in there, because if I got to beat $80 million for 40 megawatts, right, then they have to win.
The cost of reusable rockets on a regular basis to build these things is just prohibitive for anybody else.
Right.
It will change everything. Yeah.
And we have what might be a rendering or something of an AI5 chip. Yeah. So, but AI8 will change everything in terms of the space data center thing. So it's AI5, AI6, AI7. They're hugely important for better robotaxi, better bots, better distributed AI. So those are hugely significant for the next ramp. But the next wave of growth, and now we know there's this really infinite next wave of growth for space and AI, right? Because if AI intelligence is more and more valuable, there is no end to that. Even for robotaxi and robotrucking, it's like I do everything on Earth. I'm not driving anything else. There's no other things. You hit a plateau where you're still making trillions of dollars every year, but it doesn't increase, right? Because you've hit the limit. For AI and intelligence, really no limit. I can just keep building more and more power, more and more data centers, get more and more intelligence to it. It's to say, at some point, well, that's enough intelligence. I don't need any more.
No, that's not going to happen. Unless you got AGI, and the AGI the guy says, the sentient being says, yeah, I got it all. I got it done.
It'll want more. So the other thing that just came out is that Donald Trump says that Jared Isaacman, who is Elon's buddy, who's launched to space twice as an astronaut, have now been nominated by Trump for NASA administrator. He held off on that when he was going to be a NASA administrator, and then Trump pulled him because he and Elon were having a fight, and now he's back. Which to me, Sean Duffy will still be Department of Transportation, but to me this says Elon and Trump are super good buddies again, right? So that is hugely important for Tesla and for SpaceX.
And SpaceX,
because it means AI. All the Robotaxi approvals can happen with Trump, and then all the SpaceX approvals that need to happen, and there's lots of them, and all the SpaceX deals. Like people were talking about, well, maybe they're going to give $5 billion to Blue Origin to do a backup plan going to the moon. Not going to happen now. It's going to be.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. I was going to ask you that. I did a show this morning with Joe, and we were showing all the posts that Elon made, talking about how now all of a sudden the moon is his priority for SpaceX. As recently as January of this year, he said the moon is a distraction. There's no need to do the moon, and now all of a sudden, like, we're going to do a settlement. My suggestion, my thinking was that AI data centers is what changes mine. I'm going to put a lunar settlement. I'm going to have an AI data center on the moon surface, but also I'll have satellite AI data centers, and that's going to be the base for that. And that is going to generate so much money, an incredible business model, that it's worth doing this.
Right. So it's focused the future of money at a huge, huge scale for him to say, if I put huge stuff in orbit, it's going to make me money. It's as important as AI data center scaling. It is AI data center scaling. Putting stuff on the moon is also scaling for that. One point, though, about he put in the post about the 100 gigawatts to 2030, which we know is, I just said it's going to be a bit later. He said also 100 terawatts by leveraging the moon to supply, with magnetic mass drivers to send it up to orbit. Right. So yes, that can make it 9 times cheaper, 10 times cheaper to do it from the moon. But if I'm doing it for AI data centers, the cost becomes the chips, right? Because I said 60-80% is chips, right? Yeah. So if I make everything else cheap, practically nothing for free, and I make the mining even cheaper, that still leaves the chips, right? Yeah. So then you don't get the huge benefit until you put fabs on the moon. Right? Yes. So the fabs have to be on the moon, the fabs have to be on Mars. But the level of industrialization for that is there because every time me as a futurist, I'm thinking, how do we get to the fact that there's these infinite resources in space and you can lower the costs? How do you first get over the $100 billion, $200 billion hump to industrialize everything? And now we know that that's all going to be paid for by AI data centers. So that first $200 billion is AI data centers. Then I'm industrializing the moon. I'm making fabs there. I'm doing everything on Mars too. And then it's unlimited.
My gosh. Elon's so brilliant. I don't know if of course he's brilliant, but geez, these things just happen to land at the right moment, at the right time. In this case, it's AI data centers becoming a huge thing. Maybe he already knew. I'm sure he did years ago. But boy, they're here, and now it offers him a business model, the AI 5 chips and the AI, all this. He knew to build the AI series years ago because he knew that he needed to control this.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So I'm not sure if this is a real rendering or not. I think it might be a computer-generated thing of Tesla AI 5 chip. Because I don't think that they've printed any silicon yet for it. So this is just a nice realistic rendering. And then we have the speeds, 40 times faster, 8 times more compute, et cetera. And more memory, more bandwidth. But then these specs are not locked in stone, right? Yeah. So Elon is doing design reviews.
Etched in silicon.
Etched in silicon.
These are not etched in silicon.
Etched in silicon. Right. And Samsung and TSMC both doing it in Texas, Arizona, a lot of U.S. production. And then 2026 start, but then 2027 in high production.
Good thing that they are in U.S. now. This is very important that these chips are being built in the U.S. That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Anything else on this table?
No, that was
most
it.
of it.
So I just maybe duplicate it instead of having that in
I
there.
love this table, though. I think we need to. Hopefully, you post it on your X account.
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah.
This is such a great table.
Yep.
This is important for everybody. You've collected all the information and put it together in one table, which is nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome. So the distributed AI part of it is that he previously said that it's the best chip for models under 250 billion parameters. And so the distributed AI part is really the focus of AI 5, AI 6, and AI 7. And then you'll have more distributed AI for AI 8, but then it'll be in space, right? So the distributed AI part of it is because you can generate the power without, or you have the power without making a massive multi-year nuclear power plant or a natural gas thing, that you have it spread out to do that. And the 250 billion parameters is the small models, the small language models, or the condensed AI is where the bulk of the work will be done, right? That those smaller models are cheaper, 30 times more energy efficient, 100 times more energy efficient, faster. And what happens is you get the leading edge model, and then you train and you make it smaller in 6 to 12 months, right? So you're 12 months off the lead, but you're doing the bulk of the work in these models. And they'll all be open source. So some of them will be Chinese models, some will be ours, but that is where most of it's happening. So it will end up being like 99% or more will end up being
unused.
Well, on these small models, but also it will be, so that's why the bulk of the chips could, if the most efficient ones are AI5, and he's talked about being 10 times more efficient than NVIDIA, then that's where all this work, the most of what's happening will be. So that's why the distributed AI is so important. It's why the small models are so important. The leading edge is important because you spend the money on it, because that's where the breakthroughs happen. That's where you need to make the breakthroughs. And being at that leading edge, even though it's 1% of it, it could be still 50% or most of the value. And it also means you win on the small models. So it's
I think what you're saying, let me understand this.
Yeah.
So you have, by this point, a couple of years from now, we'll have robots and we'll have cars.
Yeah.
The cars need inference chips to run, to make decisions and to act.
Yeah.
The thing is, Elon already said that, first of all, the cars, many times, it won't be driven.
Yeah.
And then there's bots might actually be bored. And what I thought he meant there was that the chipset in the brain is only using literally 10% of its power to do the task it needs. It's got like 90% more to do for something else, and maybe rent it out for training. Distributed means every bot, every car that's out there in the world, it can be used, that chip that's running in all those places, and they each have their own cooling already.
Yeah.
And so there's no need to create a data center. You got access to all of that. Yeah.
Right. It's also just the nature of the energy and other things is that if you purchase the chip, like putting it all in one location means I need to build like a massive 1,000-story skyscraper, right? If it costs more time, it's harder engineering, there's all this other work that has to be done. If I spread it out into 1 million houses, right, then it's just easier to build. Everything about the supply chain logistics becomes easier, right? Because I can put solar on top of the roofs and all that kind of stuff. Spreading it out is just easier and cheaper that way. So that's why making the monolithic skyscraper version of it is unnecessarily slow and difficult.
Makes sense. Yeah, okay, so Tesla AI will be the space variant chip. Lots of work and testing to make that happen. You explained that.
Yeah.
Cost comparison, space versus Earth-based.
Yeah, so this is done by StarCloud. So they made a couple of mistakes and a couple of different assumptions. One, so they're doing this for a 40 megawatt amount of of space AI. They chose 40 megawatts because that's what they estimate they could put into a Starship, right?
Okay.
So that's why they chose 40 megawatts. And then the cost of 140 million, mainly for energy at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, that is saying I can get the cheapest energy from the grid at 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And then I run it for 10 years, and that's where the $140 million comes out. But if
Yeah.
they're building a big data center, gigawatts, right, then you can't just say, I pull it off the grid because the power plant doesn't exist, right? So, but to simplify this thing is instead of 10 years, I would say 5 years, because in 5 years, the chips become outdated. Actually, in 2 years, they're outdated for training. In another 3 years, they're outdated for inference, right? Because the chips keep getting better, right? So then you will not compare this to 10 years on Earth. You're comparing it to 5 years. So that means cut the lower number, 167 million, in half to about 80 million. And then whatever you do in space for power and for launch must net out to under $80 million. That's why I was saying $80 million for one Starship launch.
Isn't it 70 million? 140 divided by 2?
They have extra costs for cooling and for other stuff in there. That's
plus 20.
Plus 20.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's other costs involved. And again, this is all simplified calculations.
167 million. There you go. That's at the bottom. Okay.
167 million.
Gotcha.
Right. And so their estimates of we can do it for $2 million a space solar array, we can get $5 million per launch. Those are have wrong assumptions in there. I don't know where they got the $2 million per solar array is, but it's more like $40 million currently. Maybe you can get down to 20 million. Maybe they have a breakthrough that I don't know about, that they can get to $2 million for that. But the $2 million space array, no one else has done that, and I've not seen anything that says that can be done yet. Maybe in the future. But and then they're talking about $5 million per launch for a Starship. Yes, in theory, a Starship can get to that cost, but that is the SpaceX cost. They're not going to sell it to them for $5 million. Because it's $15 million now for a Falcon 9 launch. They sell those for $70 million, right? So they mark it up just like NVIDIA marks up its chips, right?
No,
so so that's not going to happen for them. SpaceX does. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Regardless, this is their numbers. What is your number of what it would cost Tesla to do a space launch of 40 megawatts?
So I'm going for
or not Tesla, SpaceX.
Yeah. So one, I think they can get down to the $10 million launch cost by basically, hopefully, end of next year or beginning of 2027, right? But that, I don't worry about getting cheaper than that because they're cheap enough at that point, right? They're cheap enough at that point. Then it's a matter of like, how many can I do, right? And then the how many I can do is if I want to do, 100 gigawatts, I need 5,000 launches, right? So 5,000 launches can be done with a fleet of 100 Starships, but I'll also need probably 50 launch towers, right? So right now we have 2 launch towers, and we're building a third, and we're adding 2 more. So there's a bunch of stuff that has to happen along the way to get us to this, right? So that's why it takes years, because you have to build a lot of launch towers, a lot of other things, right? Which it all can be done, and you'll have load the money to do it, but it will, the things that have to happen along every one of these things. I have to scale up solar for space. I have to go up 1,000 times on that. That is non-trivial to do. I have to scale up the launch towers. I have to get Starship flying regularly 100 times more than the Falcon 9, right? So these are all huge things to do, right? So, but the when is, I think you can get under the cost for one Starship load around 2030, right? But then to scale it up, I think is another 2 to 5 years to do it. And so around 2035, it'll happen. But the inevitability of it getting cheaper is the point, is that once you cross over the barrier and get cheaper in space, now all the $1 trillion flow over to space. It's the same thing as when I get full Robotaxi, then everything flows over. Until you get everything, then it doesn't happen. You're still at some small level, like you're at kind of like a FSD 14, FSD 13. You're having useful stuff. You're making a few billion, but you're not at the huge. Everything's cheaper now. I've won everything. It's just like when do I get cheaper than owning a car? Right? I have to get a cyber cab. I have to scale it, and then I'm under the $1 per mile. Right? So it's the same kind of thing. It's like once you're under $1 a mile, then you win everything. Right? Until you do that, it's good.
You need to scale first. Okay. Yeah. So you're showing here a picture of the launch.
Yeah.
Starship scaling to 1,000 times what today. You just talked about it today. You just talked about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Silicon and other stuff. Yeah.
What
And
are
these
these?
these are the Starlink satellites. So version 1.5 is the one that they made about 3-4 years ago. Version 2 Mini is the one in between. That's the majority of the ones that are up there now, and the only one they've been launched in the last 2-3 years. And then version 3 will start launching next year, and that's even bigger and stuff like that. StarCloud 2 is what these other guys hope to launch after they've done StarCloud 1 that they just launched 3 days ago. So, and so these are just the sizes of the satellites. Weight is about 200 kilos for the 1.5 Mini, 800 kilos for the version 2, 2 tons, just shy of 2 tons for version 3, roughly the weight of a Model 3, Model Y. Yeah. 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 So this is the StarCloud guys were saying, we'll make a 5 gigawatt data center, and this 4,000 meters by 4,000 meters on the solar panels, right? So putting that all together is it's unnecessary, right? Because and also we haven't done any big construction. We have not built anything bigger than the International Space Station in space. We'll do that with each launch of a Starship, because each Starship is the size of an ISS. But 5,000 launches and constructing this is something that probably won't happen. At least not in the near term.
This is solar panels. So this is basically
Solar panels.
Massive solar, 4 kilometer by 4 kilometers, which is massive, but in space it's nothing.
Yeah.
But it's just panels. I don't imagine why you wouldn't be able to do this. But it's solar, captures energy. How do they bring the energy back? Elon was saying that beaming the energy back would burn a hole through Earth.
So you're not beaming it back. You're putting it into the data center in the center.
Gotcha.
So
that's the data center in the middle.
In the middle. That tiny data center is where I'm putting the power.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Beaming power back. The other companies that are talking about beaming power back, and Elon says we won't do that for whatever reason. I've talked to the other guys. That's a debate. We can discuss that later. But it's probably not going to be a major thing. It's, I think, better to build it and use it where you are in space if you can.
Gotcha. So this is what their plans are. Okay.
These are plans are. Yeah.
And so if Elon was going to do this, do you think it's about similar, same idea, 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer? Or he's going to do distributed, isn't he? He's going to have all this.
Yeah, more distributed.
Every satellite will have their own solar panel. Yeah. He'll have his own data center. Yeah. And then they all connect together just like he has his cars and his bots. It's all going to be distributed.
Right. And as you say, it's not impossible to do this, and plenty of companies that I know are working on it. So it is achievable to build this at some point, but we have not done it yet. So if you're saying, I'm putting something on the critical path that is unnecessary, right? So then why am I doing that? Why am I saying, I want to do something that I've never done before at a scale 1,000 times bigger than I've ever done before? And it's like I'm going to run a marathon, but I'm going to do it with an obstacle course, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and this is just them showing that StarCloud 2. I think I've done the slides. I think we're good on them.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was amazing. You basically explained that space AI, which is what Elon's been focused on this entire week. Do you think that was a coincidence that he's talking about space AI now, as opposed, the week before, basically Thursday is
Well, I think
It
you're talking
worked?
about because they launched StarCloud launched their space AI thing on November 2nd, right? So Sunday
Do
they
you think
launched.
it's part? Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
they launched it. It was launched on a Falcon 9, right?
Yeah.
So Elon knew all about this for the last, 6-9 months,
Yeah.
right? Because the
Yeah.
ride share, they have to give the the technical drawings, engineering drawings to SpaceX to say this is the thing I'm launching, right?
Hmm.
Because they can't say, well, maybe you're going to launch something that might blow up. I can't take the rest of
Sure.
my rocket out. Yeah, so
Gotcha. So he's aware. He's been thinking about this. Okay, this is huge. As yet another business. I was struggling, not really struggling, but I was telling Joe and I did a show on this, and we were going, this space AI will benefit Tesla because there's all these robots. You'll have all the vehicles, lunar base. You're going to have all the energy mega packs, just all the other stuff. Now you've said it's actually the AI chips. That's the big thing
Right.
that they're going to make the most money. Yeah,
Right.
that was very important for you to share.
right, right, and then an exciting in 2 days the big meeting. I'm looking forward to that. I'm expecting a really nice Tesla bot demo to happen there, and you're going to go there. I'm jealous. You're going to see it all.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it. Follow Brian on his blog, nextbigfuture.com. Check out his YouTube channel, Next Big Future. You really do a lot of work and you're unique. You know this stuff so well.
Yeah.
And everything you've been working on last few years, space, data centers, AI, FSD, bots, it's all coming together now.
All coming together.
You're going to be busy person the next, you have been.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.